Literally witnessed two things. We witnessed Caitlin Clark once again cementing herself as the demon of the WNBA. Flashes of 2024 and Iowa last night, while literally trying to pull the entire team along on her back because of an awful head coach named Stephanie White.
There is a breaking point in every major sports franchise, a moment where pressure, expectations, and results all collide at once. It's when emotions peak, patience runs thin, and every decision suddenly comes under a microscope. For the Indiana Fever, that moment didn't just arrive at the final buzzer of a tough home loss. It carried over into the post-game environment, through press conference reactions, sideline moments, and the wider conversation unfolding across the basketball world. Welcome back. This is WNBA Pro. Today we're taking a closer look at the growing tension and scrutiny surrounding the Indiana Fever, where every game, rotation, and coaching decision is being heavily analyzed by fans and media alike. The intensity around the franchise has reached a level where emotions are running high, and debate is louder than ever. A major focus of that discussion is Caitlin Clark, whose role and usage continue to generate widespread attention. Supporters and critics alike are closely watching how she is being integrated into the team system, and what that means for both her development and the Fever's long-term direction. Head coach Stephanie White and the coaching staff have also found themselves under increasing scrutiny, with analysts and fans questioning strategy, rotations, and in-game adjustments as the team searches for consistency. At this point, the conversation goes beyond a single game or single decision. It's about a young team trying to establish identity under immense pressure, while expectations from fans continue to rise alongside the league's growing popularity. And that's why the discussion around Indiana isn't slowing down anytime soon. Every performance now feels like part of a bigger story still being written.
Some reason. Now, essentially the same question about Kelsey Mitchell.
Start, I guess, with Kelsey Mitchell and what she did today. I mean, it was something else.
I'm speechless, really. She was 0 for 7 in the first half and 4 points, and just put us on her back. Made big shot after big shot, big play after big play. She didn't settle. She stayed.
This is the moment that instantly took over social media and sparked intense debate across the basketball world. Caitlin Clark had just delivered one of the most electrifying fourth-quarter performances of the season. In a span of minutes, she knocked down 5 three-pointers in the final frame alone and poured in 17 points in just 9 minutes. It was the kind of takeover performance that single-handedly dragged a struggling team back into the game and forced overtime. A performance like that naturally set the stage for questions after the game. When reporters asked Stephanie White about Clark's late-game surge, the expectation was straightforward: acknowledgement of a standout individual effort that shifted the momentum of the entire matchup. Instead, White emphasized the collective performance of the team, pointing to overall resilience and shared effort on both ends of the floor, rather than focusing on one player's fourth-quarter scoring burst. That response quickly became a talking point among fans and analysts. Some felt it reflected a standard team-first coaching approach, where credit is distributed across the roster rather than centered on one performance. Others, however, argued that Clark's late-game impact was so dominant that it warranted more direct individual recognition in that moment. And the conversation didn't stop there. In the same press conference, attention also turned to Kelsey Mitchell, whose performance was addressed in a more specific and detailed way. That contrast added another layer to the discussion online, with viewers dissecting tone, timing, and how different players are highlighted in post-game narratives. What emerged wasn't just a debate about one press conference. It became part of a larger conversation about roles, recognition, and how star performances are framed within a developing team still trying to find its identity under pressure.
I'm speechless, really. She was 0 for 7 in the first half and 4 points, and just put us on her back. Made big shot after big shot, big play after big play. She didn't settle. She stayed aggressive, and she willed us.
Unbelievable. The difference.
Let me remind you, Kelsey Mitchell started the game 0 for 7 from the floor in the first half. She had 4 points, She was highly inefficient early on. But when asked about Mitchell, Stephanie White's entire demeanor changed. The deflection vanished. The generalizations disappeared. Stephanie White looked at the media and said, "I'm speechless, really." She was 0 for 7 in the first half and just put us on her back. Made big shot after big shot, big play after big play. She didn't settle, she stayed aggressive, and she willed us. Put us on her back. Willed us. The contrast is absolutely jaw-dropping. It is a public relations disaster. It is a massive flashing neon sign pointing directly to the deep-rooted favoritism and toxic internal politics destroying this locker room. When Caitlin Clark drops 17 points in 9 minutes to save the team, it's group resilience. When Kelsey Mitchell hits a few shots after starting 0 for 7, the coach is speechless and claims Mitchell put the team on her back. You cannot operate a professional sports franchise with this level of blatant bias. You cannot treat your billion-dollar franchise savior like a nuisance while actively glazing a veteran who routinely shoots the team out of games with terrible tunnel vision. The fans see it, the analysts see it, and they are completely, unapologetically furious. But the press conference is only the verbal evidence. If you want the physical, undeniable proof of this double standard, you have to look at the sideline body language. Because as the famous saying goes, body language never whispers, it screams.
Let's move on though, chat. CC takeover in full effect when the whole world was counting on her and she delivered. Look at this right here. Oh my gosh, she 22. Game time shot. And is Stephanie White celebrating? Is Stephanie White screaming, clapping her hands? No. And you're going to be like, Venom, don't worry. Stephanie White is locked in. All right, well, let's see when Kelsey Mitchell scores then. But anyways, there was nothing or nobody that could stop Caitlin Clark. So see, off ball with no...
Okay. What he's saying is Stephanie White act like nothing happened at all.
Thanks to incredible investigative work by content creators like Venom Reacts, we now have side-by-side footage of Stephanie White's reactions during the most critical moments of the game. Let us look at the first clip. The game is on the line. The pressure is absolutely suffocating. Caitlin Clark has the basketball. She executes a flawless impossible move, pulls up from deep, and drains a massive game-tying shot to send the contest into overtime. The arena erupts. The internet explodes. It is a moment of pure, unadulterated basketball magic. And what is Stephanie White doing on the sideline? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. She is completely blank. She acts as if someone just hit a routine free throw in a preseason scrimmage. There is no celebration, there is no clapping, there is no emotional release. She is a statue. People will try to defend her by saying, "Oh, she is just locked in. She is a serious coach, focusing on the next play." Okay, let us test that theory. Let us look at the second clip.
Now, Kelsey Mitchell.
Screens again as Kelsey dribble Mitchell with a nasty ankle breaker, I cannot lie. As Stephanie White applauds and screams in excitement. So Caitlin Clark hitting a game-tying shot to send it to overtime didn't warrant that response for Stephanie White. But Kelsey Mitchell, and the move was nice right here. Also, oh my God. Look at Stephanie White. Oh my God, look at the emotion from this coach right here. Holy, she's like, yeah, Kelsey,
Kelsey Mitchell has the basketball. She hits the defender with a nice crossover, an ankle breaker move, and hits a shot. It is a good basketball play, but look at the sideline. Look at Stephanie White. She completely loses her mind. She is screaming, she is clapping her hands aggressively. She is literally stepping onto the basketball court, overflowing with raw, unfiltered emotion, cheering for Kelsey Mitchell as if Mitchell just won the WNBA championship on a buzzer beater. Makes sense. Make the hypocrisy make sense. You are a head coach. You stand completely motionless and benign when your franchise player hits a historic shot to save your job, but you practically storm the court in celebration when your favorite veteran hits a standard crossover jumper. This is not coaching. This is an agenda. This is a head coach who has made a conscious, deliberate decision about who she wants the face of this franchise to be, and she is actively resisting the reality that the entire world disagrees with her. She is trying to build a system around Kelsey Mitchell, and she treats Caitlin Clark like an unwanted disruption to her master plan. And this toxic agenda is bleeding into every single aspect of the Indiana Fever organization, right down to their social media department. Have you noticed the profound, highly suspicious silence on the Fever's official social media accounts over the past few days? Caitlin Clark is the most famous, highly marketable, globally recognized women's basketball player on the face of the earth. She drives millions of impressions with a single photograph, and yet, the official Indiana Fever accounts went a full 48 hours without posting her. Instead, they are posting videos of other players playing with puppies. They are heavily, aggressively pushing Kelsey Mitchell promotional content. They are actively suppressing the marketing of their own golden goose in a desperate, pathetic attempt to artificially manufacture star power for the veterans who simply do not move the economic needle. This is a masterclass in how to destroy a billion-dollar brand. And what is the ultimate tragic irony in all of this? The primary justification for hiring Stephanie White in the first place was her supposed status as a defensive guru. She was brought in to fix the defensive culture. She was brought in to establish grit and toughness. Well, let us look at the defensive results from this alleged guru. In this exact same game, while White was busy ignoring Caitlin Clark and cheering for Kelsey Mitchell, the Washington Mystics completely dismantled her defensive schemes. Sonia Citron exploded for 30 points, a career high. Kiki Arifin dominated the paint for 25 points, a career high. Kiki Arifin, Citron, 30 points, career high. Kiki Arifin, 25 points, career high. 10 of 14, 11 of 17. Congratulations, Stephanie White, the defensive guru to end all defensive gurus in the WNBA. You had 2 players go for career highs against you. Wow. And guys, we're going to get to Stephanie White and her statement from the press conference last night. Congratulations to the ultimate defensive guru of the WNBA. You just allowed 2 opposing players to drop absolute career highs on your home floor while giving up over 100 points in back-to-back overtime losses. You allowed 58 points in the paint because your rotations are fundamentally broken, and your roster lacks a true center. Your defensive system is a complete, unmitigated disaster, and your offensive system consists entirely of hoping Caitlin Clark bails you out in the fourth quarter. The fans are not blind. The Fever fanbase is one of the most intelligent, highly engaged fanbases in all of professional sports. They watched the struggles of last year. They watched the Christie sides, and many of them are now openly admitting that as flawed as Christie sides was, she at least eventually figured out that the entire offense needed to run exclusively through Caitlin Clark. Stephanie White is taking this franchise backward, and the fans are screaming for the Pacers Sports and Entertainment Ownership Group to step in immediately. This is a business. A multi-billion-dollar sports entertainment business. And in the business of professional sports, when a manager or a head coach actively alienates the primary revenue driver, that coach gets fired. Look at the Philadelphia Phillies in Major League Baseball. They fired their manager after a 9-19 start because the expectations were World Series level and the leadership was failing. Look at Paul Westhead in the NBA. He won an actual NBA championship with the Lakers, and a little over a year later, he was fired because his system clashed with Magic Johnson. The Indiana Fever ownership cannot sit back and allow a head coach to play high school favorites while the most valuable asset in the history of the league is being marginalized and mistreated. If Caitlin Clark does not go completely bonkers in the fourth quarter, the Fever get blown out by 20 points at home. And when it came down to the final deciding shot of the game, who did Stephanie White draw the play up for? She had Kelsey Mitchell take the last shot. Caitlin Clark had just torched the Washington defense for 17 points in 9 minutes. She was the hottest shooter on the planet. She was in the zone, and the head coach deliberately chose to put the ball in Kelsey Mitchell's hands for the final shot. That decision alone is basketball felony criminal. It is fireable on the spot. It proves that Stephanie White's ego and her loyalty to Mitchell completely overshadow her desire to actually win basketball games. The local Indianapolis sports media needs to wake up. They need to take the kid gloves off. If this were an NFL team or an NBA team, the local reporters would be absolutely destroying the head coach for this level of incompetence and blatant favoritism. The media needs to start asking the incredibly hard questions, and they need to hold Stephanie White accountable for the cultural rot she is allowing to spread. This franchise is at a tipping point. The boycotts are trending, the hashtags are going viral. The fans are refusing to spend their hard-earned money to watch a head coach sabotage a generational talent. If the ownership group does not intervene, if they do not sit Stephanie White down and demand that the entire system be recentered around Caitlin Clark, this season is going to end in a catastrophic failure. You cannot have a coach who yanks her star player out of the game the moment she gets hot. You cannot have a coach who refuses to praise her point guard's historic performance while glazing a veteran who shoots 0 for 7. You cannot have a coach who claims to be a defensive genius while giving up career highs toto the entire opposing roster. The Stephanie White experiment is officially a disaster, and the entire basketball world is watching to see if the Indiana Fever have the courage to fix it or the arrogance to let it burn. What do you think about the incredible double standard Stephanie White showed in the press conference? Is the undeniable video evidence of her sideline reactions enough to prove she is playing favorites? And is it officially time for the ownership group to step in and make a massive leadership change? Drop your most explosive, unfiltered take in the comments below. We read every single one. If you want the absolute raw truth about the deep-rooted drama, the business, and the politics of the WNBA that the mainstream media is too terrified to talk about, you're in the exact right place. That subscribe button right now. Destroy the notification bell so you never miss a deep dive breakdown. The revolution in Indiana is just getting started, and the truth will not be silenced. This is WNBA Pro. We will see you in the next video.